Balatro is an existential meta-horror about the addictive cycle of gambling and substance abuse. It is an unwinnable hellscape, only to be ventured into for research purposes, and not with the intention of victory. The incredible dopamine rush of hitting a big hand is the exact feeling the disheveled man at the table feels hitting 21 so he can pay back the casino and keep his knees. The recurring just one more feeling after losing a run is the same as when you call your dealer at 3 a.m. with a shaking hand. Each deck is masterfully crafted to bring to light a different aspect of this vicious cycle, from selling your wedding ring for one more ounce to that blistering sense of confusion when you wake up Monday morning after a 2-month bender. Having not discussed this with anyone else, and having zero contact with the outside world for the past several years, I feel entirely confident discussing this with absolute certainty. I will be discussing gameplay and mechanics and how they relate to the metaphor. If you want a guide, go find someone clear-headed and sober. Ignore any chips I have on my decks. Obviously, as this intro suggests, they are just for show, as the game is unbeatable. Otherwise, the metaphors don't hold up as much under scrutiny. This deck shows the desperation faced by an addict when confronted with any obstacle to their next score. If you can just pawn one more possession, sell one more priceless family heirloom, then you can score high enough to be satisfied. Obviously, this just gets you trapped in a cycle of perpetually being stuck, seeking a higher payout for a better score. As long as the wife can live with one kidney, I'm sure you'll hit blackjack on the next hand. The table is the dealer or back alley casino, accepting your crumpled, blood-stained money to go just one more round. After selling and getting rid of every possible thing, you will inevitably find that it was never enough, and you're faced with the defeat screen, which is a makeshift noose in a prison cell after your wife's lawyer proves it was you who took the kidney.
Hey, that's pretty good.
This deck shows the decline of the casual user. You start in high-end clubs, just doing a little in the bathroom with coworkers. As this becomes a more regular scene for you, the slow and steady exposure creates a dependence, and you start salivating for every hit and try to get more and more for each round. The only way this can end is the way it does end. The defeat screen, or you OD'd in the bathroom at a fancy restaurant as your friends quietly leave and pretend they don't know you. This one is obvious. I'm sure you don't need me to explain it. It is clearly supposed to represent the high felt after robbing a liquor store, that extra money weighing down your wallet to start with, plus the extra interest, is the game showing the excitement felt from violent crimes pulled off well. The descent into poverty afterwards shows that if you have a degenerate and gambling-fueled life, no amount of riches will last. One last rare joker is all you need to win as you spend under your last interest threshold and get the defeat screen poor and broken, sirens blaring outside because you forgot to cover your face during the robbery. This deck simulates living day to day as a trophy wife with an inattentive rich husband and a massive Quaalude addiction. You have a nice house, but you need to sustain yourself on sneaking things out and selling one antique after another, spending every cent you have at every opportunity. You don't have access to the bank account, so you're a cash-only business with an eternally empty wallet. If you slip up for even one round, you're left with no money and divorce papers. The bigger the immediate score, the more the reward, so you're incentivized to figure out how to subtly get the mahogany 4-poster out of the front door to get the biggest score possible. But if you don't hit it big immediately, you're left with nothing to show for it but a cold, hard floor to sleep on that night. Here you star as Mark Wahlberg in The Gambler. Literature professor Jim Bennett, Mark Wahlberg, or you, leads a secret life as a high-stakes gambler. Always a risk-taker, Bennett bets it all when he borrows from a gangster and offers his own life as collateral. Not one for long-term payoffs, this is very much a bet it all on black style. And just like if you tried to reenact this movie in real life, you will end up having it come up red. Your goal for fuck you money will only end with a pissed off John Goodman watching in utter disbelief as you bet the money that would have kept you alive on just one more round. The defeat screen here is the insides of the dumpster you were dumped in behind the backroom casino. Ah, the shrooms metaphor. You start with the crystal ball, believing yourself to have expanded your mind, only to realize that the three-headed toad speaking with the voice of your mother in a racist Hispanic accent might not be telling you all the secrets of the universe. A bad trip is a dangerous thing. Seeing nightmares made flesh and all your worst fears becoming manifest, all will be entrapped in your own mind. The existential horror of realizing that there are now 3 toads, all with different, horribly racist accents, is enough to drive a person insane. The defeat screen suffered, fortunately, only means you passed out from delirium and are sleeping off the rest of your trip. Bill Hicks once told the story of how insane drug trips had expanded his mind and consciousness past the mortal realm. Life and death, he argued, were only 2 sides of an inextinguishable coin, and seeing the majesty of the cosmos through mind-altering substances was necessary for him to truly understand his place in the universe. He would then die at the age of 32. Sometimes the idea of meeting God in person after a bowl, 2 bags, and 3 hits is only an idea, and you're really just sitting mouth agape on your sofa, staring up at the ceiling, eyes half closed as paramedics bang on your door, you unable to hear them. The deck's alright, I guess. Fortunately, one side effect of excessive substance abuse is highly marketable. Once you've eroded your sense of reality to the point where you think you're seeing ghosts, you can go on television as a medium and try to fund your habit that way. The existential dread of never knowing if you'll blink and open your eyes again to see a mutilated, imaginary corpse screaming at you as the gnawing feelings of withdrawals start is certainly worth it if you can get on whatever hack replaced Dr. Phil. Having the mild disinterest of menopausal women and PTSD-riddled veterans to pay the ever-mounting bills sounds like a healthy and sustainable cycle. If you can't get the capital quickly, you will lose even the edge the hallucinations gave. Lost, afraid, covered in track marks, and willing to go full Tyrone Biggums at the first opportunity. This deck is the brutal experience of losing all of your wealth and standing in an undoubtedly very cinematic and Scorsese-level drama before you even begin. Imagine playing as Scarface after he introduced you to his little friend.
Say hello to my little friend!
The desperation for just one thing to make everything manageable, even for a short time, could not be encapsulated better. Like a blind mole digging for worms in a metal box, all you will find is the defeat screen, usually mercifully quickly. Mixing pharmaceuticals is a dangerous, if rewarding, pastime. Get the dose right, and you can lay nearly comatose in bed for the whole day. Get the dose wrong, and you can lay comatose in a bed for the whole year. Blurry vision causing you to confuse your wife with your cat, and requiring a very awkward conversation with the vet and the family lawyer. Just remember the warning the strange man behind the library gave me in between jugs of mouthwash. Just because it can fit inside you doesn't always mean it should go inside you. He then exposed himself to me and stumbled away cackling. 10 out of 10. Would deck again. Like an astrologist in any social situation, this deck starts with no bonuses at all. Any attempt to use any of your starting perks will quickly leave you alone, broke, and friendless. Any attempt to wait to use your perks until they will be useful will leave you alone, almost nearly stable, and friendless. This deck shows the slow mental decline of someone who believes they have more knowledge and can beat the house because they know better, but ultimately gets their legs removed in a back room by a Russian bouncer named Boris the Defeat Screen. Everything is better if you have more of it. You can ignore quality if you just have enough of it. Cutting your stash with baking soda and salt just means you have enough to make Henry Hill jealous. And if you use enough salt, you'll never make it to the next round, so no one will realize. To be fair, this deck is more fun than shotgunning your brain with sharp crystal fragments. And if Crocodile has a market, then you can certainly make some money on this run. Just enough to see a tantalizingly big score on the horizon, as the half kilo of baking soda you recently ingested causes you acute toxicity, and you collapse inches from the final ante. I have no idea what this deck does, and it makes me angry and confused. This is a perfect allegory for waking up after a binge, being angry and confused, having no idea what to do. The only thing I am unsure on is if this is supposed to be the bleary-eyed, brief, pre-hangover state, or right after you shoot up and the thoughts go hazy and you can't remember if you left the baby in the fridge or if you fed the baby after putting it in the fridge. If it is supposed to be that momentary panic of pre-hangover trepidation, it would be best to put the baby in the fridge regardless. The crying is very bad for your headache. These little tokens stack up on the edge of your screen, obviously to represent the used needles or empty bottles discarded next to your cot. That is why they are so painfully useless, and mousing over them just makes you sad when you realize this is all your deck does. So far, not my favorite deck. I don't know, maybe I missed out in college, but the amount of Adderall I would need to take to just comprehend what is happening to the multiplier would take this from a goofy metaphor video to a real-life problem very quickly. I have a degree and am a teacher, and I have no ability to explain what in the hell happens anytime I play a hand. It starts off so strong, almost like you snorted ADHD medication and are hyper-focused and getting more efficient use out of your time and effort. Eventually, however, you just sit scrolling up and down, silently gibbering to yourself about how it should have worked, as you play your strongest hand and have a stroke trying to compute if the score is enough to win, or if you really won't be able to finish your thesis on time, and your parents are going to be so pissed off when they discover that all the money they've been sending you for food has been going to your emaciated appearance. This deck is unattainable, as the game is unbeatable, and the only way to unlock this deck is by winning a high-stakes game. This locked content is to show that no matter how much you struggle and try, you will never achieve full satisfaction with this debauched lifestyle. It's telling you to go outside, hug a bird, kiss a tree, and listen to a stranger sing. It is an uplifting and happy end to a game about the squalor of a late-stage binge, clawing at your skin as you push yourself to just get one more round in, doing anything in your power to just get a bigger score. This tells you there is an end, that you can get better, that you can stop the cycle, and eventually return to normal, maybe even entering society one day. This is a far happier end than I was expecting from this game. I was expecting some kind of mad tweaker deck, where reality was melting and you never knew what the next card was going to be, or how you were going to find your next score, panicking at every draw and helpless against the tides of fate. But a happy, peaceful end really does have a pleasant ring to it. So there we have it. I highly recommend this game. So far, I have loved my time with it. It even inspired me to talk into a microphone about it for a while in an empty room to probably an empty audience. This game only simulates the addictive feeling of guard-dwelling addiction. It doesn't actually force you into any situations past losing sleep, missing meals, and possibly being pronounced dead after no one is able to reach you for days on end. Thank you so much for watching, and I will maybe see you again. Maybe.